Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's program. FactSet Merger Step BVR Control Premium Study. Take control of your premiums. Uh, our presenters for today are Adam Manson, O'Day Murray, and Galen Duncan, who I will introduce in a moment. My name is Jared Waters, and I'm the training director here at BVR. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that your attendance today is eligible for CPE credit. In order to receive the credit, you must complete and submit a brief survey on today's webinar at the conclusion of the presentation. A link to the survey is included with your login email and is also available on the event page for the program. After the event, you will need to complete the survey within 5 business days and will require you to fill in 3 four-digit codes. The codes for today are 4157, 6207, and 1539. Again, the codes for today are 4157, 6207, and 1539. If you have any trouble with the audio streaming, please refresh your screen and that should resolve the problems. Also, if you have any questions for our presenters, we'll take them in writing only. To do so, please use the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm very excited for our presenters. Adam Manson is the Director of Valuation Data at Business Valuation Resources, a firm that provides data and tools to business appraisers. He oversees the various data products offered by BVR and has led the development of various platforms and tools, including DealStats, BVR's flagship offering, the Cost of Capital Professional, and the Guideline Public Company Comps tool, among others. Adam has been with Business Valuation Resources for 16 years, and he holds a bachelor's degree in finance from Seattle Pacific University and an MBA from Portland State University. O'Day Murray is a senior financial analyst at BVR. Alongside his other responsibility, he works on revising incoming closed deal transactions that are sourced from middle markets, as well as researching the Securities and Exchange Commissions and other exchanges for publicly available M&A data. He holds a bachelor's degree of science in finance from Portland State University and is pursuing his master's of science in financial management from Boston University. And Galen Duncan is a financial analyst at BVR. He works primarily with sourcing, reviewing data from public and private M&A activity, and he holds a bachelor's degree Bachelor of Science in Finance from Portland State University. And with that, we'll turn it over to Adam Manson. Adam?
Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. This is Adam Manson. I'm here with O'Day Murray and Galen Duncan, and today we're going to talk about the Control Premium Study. So first, we're going to begin with an overview of the study itself, and then we're going to talk about the new enhancements that went live on Monday. And then we're going to jump into the platform and do a live demo where we can see the functionality of the new platform live. And then we'll take any remaining questions that still exist at the end. But if you have any questions as we go through this, please do go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we'll take those as we go. So the Control Premium Study is an online searchable platform that contains controlling interest transactions in public companies. And one distinction we wanted to make is that there is a difference between the MergerStat Control Premium Study and the MergerStat Review. Sometimes the two data offerings get a little mixed up, but the Control Premium Study is an online database, and the MergerStat Review is an annual publication. So the Control Premium Study has been online for almost 2 decades at this point. It has over 14,000 transactions and 62 fields of data per transaction. The information it provides are control premiums, minority interest discounts, transaction multiples, and various other pieces of data for the target from their financial statements. Each deal in the database has a transaction report, so you can see all the information for that deal in a nicely laid out format. And the platform itself computes all the summary statistics and analytics for your selected comparable companies. So you can see all your averages and medians and various percentile figures, right there, in the platform. And all the data is exportable to Excel and to PDF. And there's actually a way now in the new platform where you can copy information from the platform itself and paste it directly into Word or directly into an Excel workbook, and it will retain that formatting from the platform itself. And that's something we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. The data for the Control Premium Study comes through a data feed from FactSet. So BVR has a connection to FactSet's mergers database, and when it's refreshed, it populates the data in the Control Premium Study. The data that's pulled into the Control Premium Study are transactions in public companies where the buyer's interest after the purchase is equal to 50.1% or more. So 100% transaction, 100% acquisition of a public company would be included, or a company where they own, say, 45% equity in the target and then purchase, say, another 5 or 6%. That 5 or 6% transaction would be what is included. But still, the majority of the transactions in the platform itself are 100% acquisitions. Another thing that kind of distinguishes the Control Premium Study from the MergerStat Review is that all the transactions in the Control Premium Study are actually closed deals. So it does not contain announced deals or announced deals that have been withdrawn or never went through. So it's all closed transactions. All the data in the platform is in US dollars. Previously, some of the financial fields were in the target's home currency, but now everything is actually reported in USD. A subscription to the platform also comes with a quarterly report. It's the Quarterly Control Premium Study. And this is a quarterly PDF that's available through the platform as well as under your MyBVR account if you're a subscriber, which provides analysis from the actual transactions in the database. And some of the key fields in the actual control premium study are the merger stat control premium. So this is the difference between the unaffected price and the purchase price per share. So the unaffected price, it's a price for the target, a closing price that's prior to the announcement of the acquisition. Typically, it's the 1 day prior to announcement price. So if the unaffected price, say, was $10 and the purchase price per share was $15, the database would report a control premium of 50%. So computed off the control premium is the implied minority discount. So the implied minority discount is the discount as if you were going from the purchase price back to the unaffected price. So, in that same example, if the purchase price per share was $15 and the unaffected price was $10, the minority interest discount that would be reported for that transaction would be 33.3%. The database also contains transaction multiples. This includes 2 equity multiples and 3 invested capital multiples per transaction. And every transaction in the database is classified as either strategic or financial. So if you wanted to screen out a specific type of transaction purpose, or you only wanted to include, say, financial transactions, you could do so, by specifying on that field. So the new enhancements that went live this last Monday included moving the data from the existing legacy platform into a new platform, which provided a lot of advanced search functionality that wasn't available in the legacy platform. If you've used the DealStats platform, you'll be familiar with this new platform. But if you're not, it's pretty intuitive. But I think our demo here in just a minute will help familiarize you with that. But now you can search on any field or any combination of fields in the database. You can do complex and or logic searching. You have the ability to specify the specific fields that you want to see in the platform as well as their order. You can also choose the type of export to Excel that you wish to do. And everything that you do, whether it's customizing your view or it's saving your screening criteria or your set of comparable companies, you can save all that to return to at a later date. And also, we introduced the addition of an invested capital premium. So before, we had the equity premiums. There's 5 of them. Now there's also an invested capital premium that's available, and there's also a minority interest discount that's computed based off that invested capital premium. We've also increased the timeliness of the update schedule. So the database was updated quarterly, in the previous platform. The new refresh schedule is weekly. So at the end of each week, you'll have access to all the new controlling interest purchases right there in the platform. We've also brought in a few additional fields for the target company. These include cash and equivalents, the interest-bearing debt, and the preferred stock values for the target company. And along with this, we also introduced some additional analysis in that quarterly report that we publish. We introduced that analysis back in the first quarter of this year, and it was well received. So we're going to continue publishing that additional data and that additional analysis going forward in all subsequent reports. And there's also now a day pass available on the new platform. So previously, in the legacy database, you could purchase a single search, and that would give you access to a general industry on a one-time basis. Now you can go in, purchase a day pass directly from the website, and get access to the entire platform and the entire data set for 24 hours. So if you have an engagement or an assignment and you want to go in and do some searching and look for some comparable companies and get some premiums and discounts, you can go ahead and buy that directly through the site and jump right into the platform. And this is just a couple screenshots from that quarterly control premium study report. So this publication includes analysis on control premiums, implied minority discounts, deal values, transaction multiples, and various other things segmented by time period, buyer type, transaction purpose, geographic location, and more. So it's a great publication, and you get access to the most current issue as well as all historical issues, with your subscription. So I think right now, Jared, I think we're going to take a, pull up that polling question that we have. All right, so our polling question is, it says, please let us know your familiarity with the FactSet MergerStat BVR Control Premium Study. So answer A is, I'm a longtime subscriber and use it all the time. B is, I occasionally use the study on some engagements. C is, I don't use it, but I'm looking for a data source. And D is, I'm a non-user. I'm just curious to learn more. Okay, it looks like we're still getting a couple answers coming in. We'll give it another couple seconds here. All right, so it looks like the majority say, I occasionally use the study on some engagements. All right. Well, great to know, Jared. I think we can close the polling question. Thank you. Oh, we also wanted to put up a link to some additional materials if you want to learn more about the actual control premium study. If you visit bvresources.com/CPS, you can learn more about the database. It also has answers to frequently asked questions. You can see the definitions of different terms that are used in the platform. It also provides all the calculations for the calculated fields. So if you'd like to see how certain things are computed, all those formulas are available there. And if you do have any questions or if you have any suggestions or comments, please reach out to us at any time. You can contact us at dataquestions@bvresources.com. So we're happy to talk to you. If you have any questions, or any thoughts, just please reach out. Okay, so at this point, we're going to jump into the platform and do the first part of our live demo. So I'm going to turn it over to Galen Duncan, who's going to begin that for us. So Galen, please take it away.
Hey, thank you, Adam, and thank you everyone so much for joining us today. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go over just a really brief overview of what the platform itself looks like, as well as primarily how to use this quick search feature and how we can use a database to quickly move in, grab some information we need, and head back out with it. So to start off with, just taking a look at what the platform itself looks like. At the top here, we can see that it says Screen, Display, and Export. This is going to be the section where we're going to be adding most of our all of our filters, as well as any customization and downloading that we're going to be doing. Scrolling down to this table down below, this is where the meat of the database is going to be. This is where the transactions are going to be housed, and what we're going to see, and the results that we're going to see based upon the criteria that we input. Now, before we get into the actual demonstration itself, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to this number right here, that 14,159. That's going to be the total number of transactions within the database without any kind of criteria or filters added. So as we walk through today, we're going to see that number come down as we add more and more things to it. So moving up within this quick search tab here, to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be doing a case study or anything like that. I'm just going to be doing a really brief example, a really quick example on how we can add some of these things and get searches narrowed down. So to start off with, I'm going to select this, this one right here, this target NAICS or target NICS. And when I select that, it's going to open up to a data tree that looks just like this. And what we're going to see to begin with is general 2-digit NICS codes. And what I can do is I can hit the plus sign next to the checkboxes, and I can open up these into more and more specific categories if I'd like. For today, I'm actually going to scroll down to 44 Retail and Trade. I'm going to open up that tree, and I'm going to see that we're going to go down to 448 Clothing and Clothing Accessory Stores. I'm going to check that box, and as we can see, that 14,000 that we were looking at earlier has already dropped down to 86 transactions. If we want to take a look at what is included within this 448, we can open up that plus sign, and we can see that there's clothing stores, shoe stores, jewelry, luggage, and leather goods stores, and we could always open that up a little further if we'd like. We're going to stick with just using the 448, and we're going to add a couple other filters to this. I'm going to scroll down until I see target country, and when I click on that, it's going to open up a map with different shades of blue. These different shades of blue represent more or less transactions housed within the database, and this is going to be from the database as a whole, not from what we've narrowed it down to so far. So for example, if I hover over Australia, I can see that there's 559 transactions. If I hover over Kazakhstan, I can see that there's 4 transactions. We're based here in the US, so I'm actually going to hover over the US here, and the way that I'm going to select it is simply click on the United States, and it's going to highlight it in orange. And now we can see we've dropped down to 27 transactions. Now 27 is pretty good, but let's go ahead, let's add one more layer, filter to this to see if we can get it narrowed down a little bit further. I'm going to select date effective, and this is going to pull up exactly this, and as we can see, I can select different conditions. I could select the last 30 days, maybe the past 2 years, or I could say a date greater than or less than a certain one. For today's purposes, I'm going to use the between feature. And as we can see, we're going to input a min and a max date. For today, I'm going to use today's date, which is 11/05 of 2020. And I'm going to use the last 10 years. So for the min date, I'm going to use 11/05 of 2010. Now we can see once I've inputted that, we've dropped down to 9 transactions. Now maybe 9 is too few for you, and you would prefer to work with that 27. There's a couple of options that we can do to remove this filter. We could either highlight these dates and delete them out manually, or we can go back over to the actual the tab where we add different filters, and I can hover over the trash can icon. And as I can see, when I hover over it, it says delete, and by hitting that icon, it removes that filter entirely, and we're back up to 27 transactions. So that's a really quick way to remove a filter that you might have added either perhaps unintentionally or one that you didn't like. But maybe later on you have removed a filter and you would like to add it back in. There's a really easy way to do that. If you go up to the top of the quick search tab, we can see that there's an add search field. If I click on that, I can scroll down and see other options that I can add into it. And there we can see that date effective, which is the filter that we removed just a little bit ago. By clicking that, it's actually going to re-add that date effective there at the bottom of the screen. And it's not going to add it back in with the criteria that we had entered previously. It's going to just enter it back in as is, back to standard, so I can begin again. We are going to stick with this 27 transactions for now, and we're going to move down into what I called earlier the meat of the database, the actual transactions themselves. Just taking a look at this really quickly, what we can see up top in this blue section is going to be titles for different things, the different information that we're looking at. Later on, my colleague is going to go over how we can actually customize this section up here to better suit our needs, whether it's adding or removing or even changing orders for that. One little quick feature that I like about this is if we look next to each of these titles, we can see that there's arrows. And this is going to allow me to either sort in ascending or descending order on that specific field. So if I click the arrow next to deal value, we can see that it has now been sorted from smallest to largest. If I select it again, it's now going to be largest to smallest. I'm going to put it back into the default section, so we're going to be sorting by date effective. And now we can see that the finish line ink is back up top. And maybe this transaction does look enticing to you for something that you're working on, but you're not 100% sure if it contains everything, and you wouldn't take a little bit deeper look at it. There's a really easy way to do that without doing a download if it's just a really quick look you want to take. If we move over to this section here that I'm circling, there's going to be an orange document icon, and if we hover over that, it's going to say Generate Transaction Report. Now if I select that, the database will pull up a PDF that looks just like this. And as we can see, there's that finish line ink that we were just looking at. This is going to be the target information. It's got a quick business description, as well as some information about the acquirer. Within this, there's also going to be other good information for us. There's going to be the equity premiums in the form of 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, as well as there's going to be some target stock prices per share. There's going to be some transaction data for us to look at, those pricing multiples, as well as that financial data that Adam mentioned earlier, such as that cash and cash equivalents. We've got interest-bearing debt. So this can be really useful if you just want to quickly look at a transaction, or maybe it's something that you want to include something that you want to include in something you're working on. Now going back to the actual platform itself, maybe you want to look at all of those transaction reports for each one of these transactions that we're looking at here, because there's only 27. You could click on every single of those orange documents and pull up every single little PDF report, or if you go up to the top, you'll see that there's another one of those icons, and if we hover over that, we can see it says Generate All Selected Reports. Now when we click on that, it's going to pull up all of those reports for all 27 of those transactions. So once again, we're looking at the finish line ink, And as we move down, we can see the pricing multiples, that financial data, and all that information we were looking at previously, but now every single one of those transactions is going to be viewed here. So this can be really useful if you want to take a quick look at all of those at the same time. And what I'm going to do now is, this is that's a good way to take a look at some of this information, but maybe you want to see general statistics about this, like what is an overview of what we're looking at. If we go up to the top next to the data tab here, we can see it actually says statistics. And by clicking on that, the database will actually generate some general statistics about the data set that we have selected. So this is still the 27. As we can see for the effective date, we've got the count of 27 transactions. And we can see that the range of this specific set is June 2nd of 1999 to June 18th of 2018. So this will change depending upon the criteria you've entered. You might end up with a larger, a smaller, or a completely different range than what we're seeing today. Something else some of you might have noticed is if we go down here to the price to income, you can see that on the count it says 17 rather than 27. The reason for this is that the database only has enough information to calculate price to income for 17 of these transactions. So if you pull up the statistics and you see not all of them are the full amount, it's completely okay. Just a few more things I want to draw your attention to on the statistics tab is you'll see for pretty much for all of these little statistics, we'll have the 10th percentile, 25th, the median, 90th, and the mean for all of these things. And this is something that is really useful that we maybe want to include in a report, or maybe we want to pull into Excel for a little further analysis. And there's a really easy way to do that. If we go up to the top corner here, we can see that it says copy. And by clicking on that, it's actually going to highlight and copy this entire table for us and allow us to paste it into a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, or whatever we would like. So that can be really useful. We're going to go back to the data tab here. And as we can see, switching from tab to tab does not interfere with the criteria. We're still only looking at 27 transactions. And what I'm going to do now is there's only a couple more things I want to demonstrate for you today before I hand it over to my colleague. We're going to go back up to that screen display and export section. And what we're going to focus on really quick is this search all text field box here. This is going to allow us to enter in text information and search every single text-based data field within the platform. So for example, if I type in company, it might not be super useful because a lot of or pretty much all of the transactions here will most likely reference the word company at some point in a text field. But in this example, we were looking at clothing stores. Perhaps you're wanting to specifically look for a store that is tailored to children's clothing or children's shoes. You could go ahead and type in child, children, etc. to help get an idea of what we can narrow it down to. The last thing I want to draw your attention to is we've all had times where we've gotten really bogged down and maybe we've gone overboard with the filters and we've just got too many, and we want to start fresh from like ground zero kind of, where we want to go back to the platform as standard and kind of restart. There's a really easy way to do this. If we go up to the top, this blue bar up here, we can see that it says reset, and by clicking on that, the database is going to double check to make sure that I would in fact like to reset the platform back to default. I can go ahead and click on reload, and now we can see that the platform is all the way back to normal. Everything is as default. We're back to the 14,159. So that's a really quick, easy way if you find yourself bogged down by adding too much information. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass it over to my colleague O'Day, and he's going to go over how we can do a little bit more of a granular search using this database.
Thank you, Galen, and thank you for everyone who's joining us here today. So as Galen mentioned, we're going to essentially work with the similar example which Galen started off with, and we're going to add an extra layer of granularity. And that extra granularity is going to be provided by us exploring and examining what we can further add by using the search tab. So regarding the search, in this part of the demonstration, we're going to start things off very similar to what the initial demonstration had showed. We're going to be looking for target companies with a NAICS code in retail trade, in clothing and accessory stores, the 448 three-digit general code. And then, secondly, for this example, we want to elect to look for target companies or transactions of target companies where they are of a particular size. And for that, we will be using the net sales field as a metric of size. And if I click on it and I want to highlight it in blue on the right-hand side, as similar to any of the filter fields here function, if I click on one of the fields on the right-hand side, it will show us how we can filter that field by. And for net sales, similar to any other currency-based field, such as EBITDA, EBIT, net income, and so on, you are presented with a minimum and maximum input for the values that you want, for the figures that you want to input for net sales as a barometer of size. And in this example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for transactions with a net sales anywhere between 100 to 1,000. Now, 100 and 1,000, in other words, is 100 million and 1 billion, because all of the figures here on the platform are presented in millions, as you can see here as a quick reference, and all the other currency-based fields will be presented in millions as well. So right now we're looking at target companies that have net sales anywhere between 100 million and a billion, and they are also within that particular NAICS code that we specified earlier. Now, with this currency-based field, and as I said before, how everything else functions similarly as currency-based field, you're provided with a nice graphical interface that shows you, when it comes to the range, where do most of these transactions lie within this range. So as we can see here, it seems that from our 49 transactions, because right now, so far, we have around 49 transactions, majority of them are going to be on that lower end of this net sales range. So this is a nice, quick graphical interface so you can see where majority of the transactions lie. And at this point, what we want to do is similar to the initial demonstration, we want to look for target companies in the United States, but also we want to not just limit ourselves to the United States, we want to also look for companies that are in the United States and other similar countries. Now, with the quick search tab, we are not able to utilize the target country field for selecting multiple countries, where we are only, in this case, we can only select one. But now this is a good place for us, or a good situation where we can use the power of the search tab, and we can see how we can combine this extra level of granularity with what we currently have. So right now, so far, we have everything that we need here. Target companies of a particular NAICS code that are within a particular net sales range, that have a particular net sales within this range, and we want to tack on some additional filter criteria. And everything that we do here in the quick search tab will work together with the search tab using AND logic. So everything that I'm going to apply right now under the search tab will work together with what we already had in the quick search tab. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the search tab. And the search tab, the way it's laid out is that we are provided on the left-hand side, we're provided with a list of Premade Groups, right here where it says add target details, add acquired details, and so on. These are Premade Groups that provide you with lists of fields that are associated with that particular grouping. So for example, you can imagine under add target details, if I click on it, it's going to provide me with all the fields that have to do with the target company. And if I click on add income statement, it's going to provide me with all the information that have to do with the income information or the income statement information of the target company, and so on. In this example, we want to add and we want to use the target country filter or the target country field, and we want to filter that down by a couple of countries. So what we can do, we can use the Premade group, the target details group. We can click on that, and we can look for target country in the list, and there it is. I can click on it. It's going to be added on my right-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we can see that we can apply the filter by, in this case, it's a list-based field, and we can see that if we click on the drop-down arrow over here, it's going to provide us with a list of all the countries available. And we can also elect to delete this filter by clicking on the trash can icon, very similar to how things functioned in the Quick Search tab. But now in this case, we want to apply this target country filter more than once, because we're looking for not just the United States in our situation in this demonstration. We're also going to be looking for countries, target companies in Canada as well as Australia. So for that, I can either reapply this filter 2 more times. Sorry, I'm going to apply this filter 2 more times, but I can either use the Premade group, similar to how I demonstrated this before, but we can also use the search available columns mini search engine over here, which is a nice unique tool that can provide us with the ability to quickly type in what we're looking for if we already know what we're looking for. So I know that I'm looking for target country, and when I type that in, it's going to provide me with target country. I'm going to click on it. It's going to be applied on the right-hand side, and I'm going to apply that another time. And now we are presented with a target country filter 3 times. And in the first instance of this filter, we're going to be looking for target companies in the United States. In the second instance, we're going to be looking for target companies in Canada. And in the third instance, we're going to be looking for companies in Australia. Now, if we scroll down to the results section of the platform, we can see that right now we have 0 results. Now, why is that? At this point, and how everything is set up by default, is that, as I said before, everything that we've applied in the Quick Search tab will work together with everything that's being applied in the Search tab using AND logic. But by default, how everything is set up in the Search tab is every single filter here under the Search tab will work together using AND logic as well. What we want to do is want to change that, and we want them to work together using OR logic. So right now, what this is saying over here is it's telling the database, return to me transactions that are in the transactions where the target was in the United States and Canada and Australia. So that's not possible. It could be either it has to be in only one of these countries. So we want to change that to using OR logic, and by that, or for us to do that, we can go to the top left corner of this tab, and we can click on Apply Any Criteria Selected OR, rather than the default selection, which is Apply All Criteria Selected As. And when I click on it, we can see that right now our results we right now have around 22 results. And essentially what this is saying now, after I click this option, it's telling the database, return to me target companies that are either in the United States or Canada or Australia, and, right, because everything that in the search tab is working together with the Quick Search tab using AND logic, these and a target company that is within this, within the 448 NAICS code assignment, as well as has net sales between 100 million and $1 billion. Now, after we have applied the, this granular search, we're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down to the data portion of the platform, so we can see our transactions. And just a quick reminder, or also just to demonstrate here, because we've applied all these various different types of filters under the different tabs, sometimes it can get confusing, and sometimes depending on your level of granularity, maybe you forget what you had done in the past while you're working through the platform. And what's a good place to go to in this case is the Summary tab. And when I click on the Summary tab will provide us with very useful information, starting us off with the this top section over here, where right now it's highlighted in orange, where you can see you have right now 22 selected transactions. based on the following criteria that you used, and it will remind you right now everything that you've applied so far. So it'll tell you that you're applied the NAICS code, you're looking for companies within the particular NAICS code, the size metric that we used, as well as the company has to be either in the United States or Canada or Australia. So you can see how everything that we've done so far, how it's sort of translated in this sort of wording format, and this place is a very good place to remind you of all the work that you've done so far. As well as under the summary tab, we are provided with nice summary statistics on premiums and discounts, as well as the ratios and multiples of the transactions. And similar to the statistics tab, if we want to use this information within our reporting, either in a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, we can use the copy button here in the top right corner, and we can click on it, and then everything will be copied to our clipboard, and then we can simply paste it in whatever document document that we have. Going back to the data tab, right now in the data tab, we can see that we have 22 transactions, and we want to, at this point, start the process of further analyzing each transaction and making sure that whether a transaction is appropriate or not appropriate for our analysis. And one very useful tool that we can use for this instance or for this situation is the customization or the customizability, the ability to customize the data grid that we have right now here. So everything that we see here, the fields that we have are set up by default, but we can definitely add or subtract things to the point where this table is fit for our liking. And for us to do that, all we need to do is we need to scroll up and click on the Display tab. And the Display tab is how it's presented. It's presented in three main sections. There is the Column Groups section, the Available Data section, and the Displayed Data section. And in the Displayed Data section, as you can see here, the list of fields where we can see target SIC, target NAICS, target name, that corresponds with everything that is currently being viewed in the table below, and in the same order. So target SIC, target NAICS, NAICS, name, and so on. Now, essentially, what we want to do here under this tab, under the Display tab, is we want to edit the Displayed Data section of the tab. And if we scroll down, for example, to the very end of the table, we can see that our last column is the implied minority discount, and there it is on the table over here. But let's say we want to delete that from our view. We can simply do that by using the trash can icon, very similar to other portions of the platform. And as soon as I click on the trash can icon, it will be deleted from the list. As you can see, also it has disappeared from the data grid in real time. But now, if we want to add other fields that we deem to be appropriate for analysis, we can go back here to the Column Group section, where in the Column Group section we have Premade Groups, very similar to how the Search tab functioned. If we click on any of the groups, we'll see any of the associated fields for each Premade group. And so under the Available Data section, we can see that we have the various target detail information, and everything is going to be in this section will have to not be already in the displayed data. So, for example, target SIC is a target details field. It's not available right now in the Available Data section because it's already applied in the Displayed Data section. So we can either look through the groupings, the groups, and apply any of these fields, but we can also use the Search Available Columns, a mini search engine very similar to the Search tab. If we already know what we're looking for, we can type that in. So in this case, I'm going to type in implied, and it's going to provide me with that column that I just recently deleted, which is the applied minority discount, as well as the implied MVE. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add these two fields to my data grid by simply clicking on them, clicking on each one, dragging and dropping it to the list, and I'm going to put them at the beginning of the list over here. Drag and drop the second one, and I'm going to put it on the second column of the list, and we can see how our data grid has changed with the edits that we have done right now. And now at this point, after we have edited the data grid for our liking, we can now further analyze the data, our transactions, and we can also elect to use the transaction report if we want to dive in even deeper. And if we do end up figuring out that some of these transactions are not appropriate for our analysis, we can exclude them from our analysis by simply clicking on the blue check mark box over here. So, for example, if I deem that Dominion Diamond Mines ULC is not appropriate for my analysis, all I have to do is I can uncheck it over here, and let's say these top 3 transactions, I deem them inappropriate for my analysis. I'm going to uncheck these top 30 transactions, and now simply by unchecking them, they will now be excluded from all these statistical summaries, statistical calculations, as well as any downloads that we have in the platform. So if I go back to the statistics tab, as we demonstrated earlier, we can see right here that the count of the transactions is now 19 because we had subtracted those 3 transactions. And if I go back to the data tab, they will still be there. Now, obviously, as I said, just simply by unclicking them, they will be excluded from any of the summary information. And them staying here is simply visual. But if we want to exclude them from our view and concentrate on the transactions that we deemed appropriate for our analysis, we can hide them from our view by going to the top left corner where it says right here, hide unselected. And if I click on hide unselected, they will be hidden from my view. And if in the future I do realize that maybe one of those transactions was actually appropriate for my analysis, and I want to revisit it and include it in my analysis, we can go back to that same button where it now is turned into show unselected. And if I click on show unselected, it will re-show me those transactions which I excluded from my analysis, and I can reselect any of them if I wish. And now at this point, after we have adjusted our display, did our granular searching, and deemed what is appropriate and not appropriate for our analysis, we can go ahead and we can scroll up to the top of the platform so we can actually download our information in Excel. And for downloading our information in Excel, we can click on the Downloads tab. And the Downloads tab will be provided with several downloading options. There is the only displayed fields downloading option. And this option only downloads the information that is provided in the data grid here. As we said, you can customize this data grid for your liking, which can be useful in cases of templates, or if you just simply want to see a couple of fields for these transactions. The second downloading option is the All Available Fields downloading option, which downloads all of the fields associated with all of the transactions. So for the 22 transactions, it will download all of the associated fields with the transaction. So not just what is currently displayed, it will give you everything that's available within the platform for those transactions. The Analysis tab's downloading option will provide you with the Statistics and Summary tabs, and then the All Available Fields and Analysis tabs will provide you with option 2 and option 3 combined together in one Excel document. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download our information by using the All Available Fields option, and for that we can click on All Available Fields, and then after that we're going to click on the Excel icon. When we click on the Excel icon, we will be prompted with a message that will ask us if we are sure that we want to download these transactions, and it gives us a nice quick reminder of our limits, just to make sure that we are within our limits and we can download these transactions. And then from that, we're going to go ahead and click on the download option or the download button, and it's going to download, and then this is going to be the file which we have just downloaded, and as you can see, it provides us with all of the fields associated with our transactions, as well as it will also provide us with the Summary tab, which is what I had showed us, where it provided us with that summary information of what we had, as well as the summary statistics on premium discounts, ratios, and multiples. And the summary tab will also be tacked onto the only displayed fields option as well. Now, at this point, after we've done the work and we download the information, we want to make sure that we save our work for future instances. Maybe we want to revisit our work. Maybe we want to have a documentation of what we've done in the past. And for that, we can do that by clicking on the Save button right here in the top right corner of the platform, and then clicking on Save As. As soon as we click on Save As, it will prompt us to give a name for our work, as well as any associated notes. And in this case, I'm going to type in demo search. And then in the notes, I'm also going to type in demo search. And after that, I'm going to click on Save Screen. And that would have saved our work right now, where right here we can see that it's written in white, demo search. When we see that over here, the name of the search that we just saved, that informs us that we are right now working in the save which we have just done. Now, let's say we're going to leave the platform and we're going to come back at a later time. And for that, just to simulate that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset the platform. And now we're at a fresh new instance. Maybe right now we're at some point in the future, and we are deciding that we want to revisit the work that we just saved. For us to do that, all we need to do is we need to click on the Recent button, which is right next to the Save button over here. And then we will have right here on the left-hand side of this pop-up the list of all of the saved works that we have. Right now, the only thing that I have up or that I have saved is the demo search that I just performed and saved. And we can see on the right-hand side, the name of the search, any notes associated with the search, when was this work created, and when it was last updated. And we can either elect to delete this historical work that we have done and saved, or we can reapply it right now. And in this case, we're going to click on the Apply button, and it's going to reapply. And as we can see here, as I said before, where it's written in white, demo search, where it's right next to the Recent button, this is an indication that right now we are back in our previously worked save. And if I scroll down, we can see those 22 results that we had previously. With that being said, this concludes the expanded demo section of this presentation. I'm going to kick it off to Adam to further the presentation and to see if we have any questions.
Thanks, Uday, and thanks, Galen. That was very helpful. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead and take some questions that we have. And also just to note, the CE codes are here on this slide. So the first question we have is, does the new platform have the ability to filter based on transaction purpose, strategic versus financial? The answer is yes. So the legacy platform and the new platform both have the ability to do that. If you don't see a search field that you're looking for under the Quick Search tab, there is the Add Search Field button, also available on the Quick Search tab. But regardless, if your field that you're looking for is not available on Quick Search, if you go to the Search tab, you can actually search on any field in the database. And as Uday displayed, you can either look based on field type, so they're all organized by category, or you can just start typing the name of the field, such as transaction or purpose, into the search box, and it will pop up. Another question we have is, where is the summary of your search criteria? So as Uday noted in his demo, when you're going through and you're conducting your various searches and your various filters, you can go through and see all the criteria you specified. So every piece of search criteria that you input into the platform, you can find that both on the Summary tab as well as your Excel export. So if you're looking for what you've specified, as a search, you can find that on the Summary tab, as well as if you did export the information to Excel, you'll have it as a record there. Another question here is, where do you get the percentage of shares acquired? How is it calculated? So the percentage of shares acquired, that is the percentage value, and it's based on the number of shares acquired by the acquirer, and it's divided by the number of shares outstanding. So basically, it's just the shares acquired as a percentage of the target's shares outstanding, and that's prior to announcement of the transaction. Somebody asked, where do I get access to the quarterly PDF? So the quarterly PDF, that's available in 2 spots. You can either access it from within the platform. I don't think we really took a look at it today, but if you click on the User Resources tab from within the platform, you can see, there are some resources there, such as a link to contact us, a link to the FAQ pages, but you also have a link to that quarterly PDF. So you can find that as well as other helpful links under that User Resources tab. Oh, another place too is when you log into My BVR, where you have a list of your products that you subscribe to, you'll see that underneath the Control Premium Study, there'll be an indented bullet, and that will be the quarterly PDF. So you can actually access it there from your My BVR. And yeah, that looks like, I guess, all the questions we have. So thank you very much for everybody who attended today. We appreciate it. And I'll turn it over now to Jared Waters to finish off our presentation.
Thank you so much on behalf of the audience and BVR. I want to thank you, all 3 of you, for an excellent presentation. And I want to thank all our listeners for attending. Transcripts of this and other webinars are available in the Desktop Learning Center, an online library of all past events. The codes for today are 4157, 6207, and 1539. Again, the codes are 4157, 6207, and 1539. The link to the survey is in your reading. It's on the reading page, and also in the survey. It's also in your login instructions for today's program, and you will be redirected there at the close of the program. If you have questions about the format or content of this presentation, please email BVR at questions@bvresources.com. Thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and you may now disconnect.